Have you ever felt like something was missing in your life, but you couldn't quite figure out what it was? Have you ever dreamed of a different life, a grander journey, but fear held you back? If so, the story I'm about to tell you might just change your life forever. I want to share with you a story not from a book, but from my own life. The day one graduated from university, I stood at a crossroads. Like the shepherd boy Santiago in The Alchemist, I could have stayed in my homeland, living a safe and predictable life, but I chose differently. I decided to go to Israel, a foreign land, where I would work and study for a year. I left with a heavy burden, a large debt on my shoulders. I had no idea what awaited me, but I knew one thing: I didn't want to live a life filled with regrets. I wanted to explore, to push my limits, to see what I was truly capable of. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. And so, I took my first step into the unknown. A year in Israel was a real challenge. I worked tirelessly, learned every single day, and slowly, step by step, I moved closer to my dreams. When I returned home, I made yet another bold decision to apply for a visa to Australia. But life is never easy. Just as Santiago faced trials in the desert, I faced my own obstacles. Right when I was about to set foot in a new land, I was diagnosed with a serious illness. Standing between two choices, giving up or moving forward, I chose to move forward. I carried my dreams, my determination, and my fears, but I still went. 2 months after arriving in Australia, the worst happened. My illness relapsed. I was unable to continue working. I had no choice but to return home for treatment. At that moment, I had to borrow money to cover medical expenses. Those days were some of the darkest times of my life. I thought of Santiago wandering the desert, exhausted, with nothing left. But then I remembered the secret of life, though, is to fall 7 times and to get up 8 times, and so I chose to rise once more. 3 months later, my health gradually stabilized. I faced a big question: should I continue pursuing my unfinished dream? Many told me to stop. My family was worried. My friends advised me to stay for safety. But deep inside, I remembered another quote from The Alchemist: when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. I knew I couldn't give up yet. I consulted my doctor, prepared my medication, and once again, I set off. This time, things weren't easy. I arrived in Australia with a body that was not fully recovered, but with a spirit stronger than ever. I worked relentlessly, pushing myself every single day. And eventually, I found a better job, one that allowed me to cover my expenses and start paying off my debts. For years later, I achieved what I once only dared to dream. I had paid off all my debts. I had a stable job and a comfortable life in a foreign country. But just as I thought I could finally relax, another question emerged in my mind: am I truly happy? When you achieve your goal, have you ever asked yourself, is this really what I want? Santiago once believed that his treasure was at the pyramids, only to realize that his true treasure had always been within him. I had a good job and a stable life, yet there was still an emptiness inside me. I realized that no matter where I went, my heart always belonged to my homeland. I missed the familiar streets, my family, and the land where I grew up. I faced another choice: stay in a secure future, or return home and start anew. I thought about the Englishman in the book, who spent his life searching for wisdom in books, but never dared to step outside and experience the world. I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to follow my personal legend. My boss, who valued me greatly, even offered to help with my residency paperwork. It seemed like everything was set for me to stay, but I chose to go back. Many people asked me, why give up everything to return? I simply smiled and said, because I believe that no matter where you go, home is always the most beautiful place. I didn't return to rest. I came back to start again, but this time, I was no longer the same person I used to be. I had endured challenges, battled hardships, and learned how to rise after every fall. And I knew that if I could do it once, I could do it again. I began my career in my homeland, using everything I had learned from my years abroad to build a new future. And I realized something: people learn early in their lives what is their reason for being. Maybe that's why they give up so early, too. But that's the way it is. I was determined not to give up. You see, life is never a straight path. It's full of twists, turns, and challenges that make you want to give up. But if you have a dream big enough, if you dare to rise after every setback, then nothing is impossible. My journey was like Santiago's, a journey of self-discovery. When we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. When you dare to take the first step, the universe will conspire to help you succeed. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs motivation. And don't forget to follow so you won't miss the next stories. Remember, your journey begins now.